So welcome everybody. Today is our third session for the study group for identity access management. Today we're covering login flows. We're going to go into it much deeper than you need to know it for the certification, but it's a great topic and hopefully you'll see how you can use it in your org. Like I said earlier, if you have any questions, please share them. This is for us to learn together, and if you have any experience, we'd love to hear your questions and your comments. We'll follow the same pattern we've been following. We'll do an overview of slides to look at the concepts. Then I'll show you my org where I've been playing with it so we can demo it. And then I have a quiz where we can test each other and compete to see who can get the most points. All right. So let's start with what is a login flow? So first and foremost, it does not replace authentication. You're always going to start with the user coming into Salesforce, being authenticated. And if they are authenticated and you have a login flow enabled, they get partial access that's granted to them. Then they go through the login flows. If they do not pass the login flow, you can log them out. But I want to make sure people knew that login flow does not replace authentication. It's definitely used right after it. Login flow support all the standard authentication methods, using a password, single sign-on, or delegated authentication. You can use it either on your Salesforce org or an experience site. So you're also able to use with customers. And when you're within a flow, you can give a user partial access. And depending on how you build your flow or what you're doing, it can kick them out if they don't pass it, or it can let them go onto the site if you're just doing basic information on it. Once you're done with the login flows, full access is granted. So this is the basic way that it works. And let's look at a couple of examples. So there's actually a couple kinds of login flows. And this is definitely where I want to share with you guys that this is the way that I understand it. We've all been through the notification from Salesforce, right? Your org is going to be going through a maintenance window at this date and this time. That's a login flow by Salesforce. If you enable multiple factor authentication, you've actually enabled a login flow from Salesforce to go through the steps of gathering your second factor authentication. But you can also build your own custom flows that are specific to your org, and you can create them either by admins or devs, and they're enabled by admins. When I built this particular slide that you're seeing, I hadn't fully tested it. It actually looks like custom flows run before login flows. The only exception there is MFA. MFA is always going to run first. But then if it shows, if it's capturing your phone number, your mobile phone, that runs after custom flows. So I will test this, but it looks like this order is reversed. Either way, both Salesforce login flows and your own custom flows that you build can log the user out if they don't meet your criteria, or once they pass it, they can get full access to the site. So I'm going to pause there. Do you guys have questions about what a flow is? Do you have any examples of flows that you've seen?
One of the example is when we log in, it sometimes asks for registering mobile phone number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great one. Mm-hmm. And I'll show you that. Go ahead.
The mobile, once you log into your Salesforce org, it's the one which asks for first time when it asks for your registration of your mobile number, or is that the one is the defaulted by login flow from Salesforce?
Yep, and that's a standard Salesforce login flow that they've enabled for you. And you can either say, remind me again, if you want to give your mobile phone later, or you can skip it, right? Because you can say, don't ask me again. And that's a great example of you don't have to complete it. If you don't complete it, it still lets you go into the site. It doesn't kick you out of it for any reason.
Okay, so that's one of the Salesforce login flow. Apart from that, every time you log in to our org, right, once you give your username and password, and you're able to log in, even that is a Salesforce login flow, or once you
it varies.
give your, okay.
Yeah, it varies. And so some of them are Salesforce login flows and some of them are custom. I have an example of 2 custom ones that I'll show you in a little bit. And one of them is still asking for the phone number because I haven't skipped it yet. And so you'll see how they work together, because you can have multiple flows run on a user.
Okay, the custom flows you're referring is something which Salesforce is created, right? Not that you as an admin created a custom flow.
No, the custom ones you create as an admin.
Oh, okay, okay, that's
Mhm.
what. Okay,
And we'll go through that because I found a package that you can install on your org that gets you set up so you can play with it. But you can. I also built one because I wanted to play with it a little bit just to see how it worked. So
okay.
let's look at that. And so, oh, I forgot I had this. So this is the ones that we're talking about right now for Salesforce, right? These are the ones that you enable as an admin. Maybe there's a release announcement. All of us probably have a spring release coming up in the next couple of weeks. So you've been seeing that, your org is going to be down for 5 minutes type thing. Registering your mobile phone. Salesforce MFA is another one that you enable. And also enable Lightning login. And again, this is the way that I think the Salesforce is running these flows. They might be doing something else on the back end, but all of these are Salesforce ones that you can't change. And Salesforce ones can run in sequence. So you do MFA first if it's required, then they'll ask you for the phone number if you haven't registered yet, and then it'll have the notification and so on. So all of these will get you to, will be displayed before you get full access to the site. So let's look at some custom ones. So custom login flows are going to be, maybe you want to implement your own MFA with Apex, and you don't want to use either your company provided identity provider MFA or Salesforce's because for some reason they don't meet your requirements. If you wanted to do something extra secure or special, you can do it that way. Maybe you want to ask questions of your users the first time they log in. Maybe you want to ask their department or confirm their time zone, because when a user gets created, it just defaults to the company's time zone, right? If you wanted to update that or get the users to update it on their own, you could do a questionnaire. If you want to ask them any kind of confirming terms and conditions, like I know when I log into my laptop at work, before I launch my computer or anything, it will remind me that that's a company provided computer, and anything I do want to, is trackable and all those things. So those are terms and conditions. You can do the same thing on Salesforce. And another one that I thought was really interesting is if you want to stop users from having multiple concurrent sessions running, you can use a flow to do that as well. So I thought that was really great. Have you guys seen any other kind of custom flows that maybe your company has built or that you've built? Okay. And the general flow, I just stacked them here, is you're going to be authenticated, because remember, you always get authenticated first. Then you go through your custom login flow, whatever it is that you're doing there. If it's unsuccessful, you can kick the user out. It's not required that you kick users out. And if it's completed successfully, you're going to go to the full site. So how do you implement a custom login flow? There are actually 3 ways you can do it. So the first one is you can actually install a package. Maybe you find one on App Exchange, or I'll show you where there's one on the help documents that come with a nice set of examples. You can create your own custom login flow with a screen flow. Make sure you activate it. The help documents kept repeating that. Obviously, if you don't activate a flow, it won't be functional. You could also build your own with Visualforce and assign it to profiles. Make sure that when you create a Visualforce page, the security on the Visualforce page is assigned to the profiles. If you don't do that, then the user will not be able to use it. You cannot create these with Aura component or Lightning web components. It's only with Visualforce, which I thought was interesting. Once you've created them and enable the security, you're going to set up the login flow by connecting them by profile. And you select the license type, then you select the profile, and then you save it. In my testing here, and I'll show you in a little bit, you can only connect one custom login flow per profile. And so if you wanted to do 2 separate things because they need to both accept the terms and conditions and complete the questionnaire, you would have to combine that into one screen flow or one set of Visualforce pages for them to go through. You cannot assign 2 separate ones to the same profile. If you have different questions for the sales team than you do for customer care, you could create separate screen flows and assign each one separately to each profile. And again, I'll show you all this on the UI, and it's all a one-to-one. You cannot assign a login flow to multiple profiles at the same time. You'd have to create individual entries to assign them to separate profiles. If you are creating a custom login that has to do with security, if you're doing your own custom MFA, or if they fail, they need to be kicked out of the org, you want to make sure you do not check render in Lightning runtime. If you check that box, they can bypass your security and they can get access to the site without fully completing the flow. So this is something that they repeat a couple of times in the documentation as well. So security ones, you want to make sure you do not check Lightning runtime. I'm hoping in the future they change that since everything is going to Lightning, but right now it would bypass security. So that's the basic way that you implement it. And again, I'll show you in the org in a little bit. So let me start with the sample package of login flows. Let me see if this will just go to the page for us. When you're looking at the help documentation, and I thought it was really interesting, this topic doesn't have any trailhead modules that I found. I found one video, which is really good, from Apex Hours, and I found a step-by-step instructions from Automation Champion, but nothing on Trailhead. Everything, if you want to learn about this, it's going to be the session or reading these pages. But if you want to go to the help pages, login flow examples, or the bottom, because it's an iframe, I could not link directly to the bottom of the page. But there's a samples packages that you can just install in your org. They give you the link directly to production. So if you want to install this in the sandbox, copy the link address and make sure you change login to test, since we all know we don't do anything directly in production, right? And once you put this into test, it will ask you to log in to the environment that you want to do it, and then it will install it there. I won't do that because I've already done that. Let me close that. But this is the package that it gives you. It's going to give you a sample one that sends a verification code, which I thought was kind of weird because it already does that for us, right? It's one of the ones that Salesforce does for us. It will let you enable a time-based one-time protocol message for multiple factor authentication. That way you can connect your own mobile app or tool to do MFA. It will do conditional skipping MFA for users that come from trusted IP addresses. So if you have a trusted IP and a trusted device, this would be one way that you would skip MFA. You can do device activation, and you can also accept terms and conditions. And again, all of these come straight out of the package, and I'll show those to you in a little bit. I gave you in the presentation both the prod and the sandbox links. That way you guys have them. And if you go to the other page that I have linked on here on the help documents, it gives you a second package that you can install, where, and again, just change the login to test to do it into your sandbox, and you can put this package into your org. This particular package, and you'll see in a little bit, uses Apex actions and the flow instead of doing everything in the flow, which is possible. So it's up to you if you want to keep the code or replace it. But that's one way that you install the custom login flows. And I'll go through the other ones. Actually, let me go to my org, and that way you guys will see each one individually. That worked well last time when we did this. Now you should be able to see my org. I'm logged in as myself as the admin. When I go to installed packages, I have the two packages that I just showed you, the login flows and concurrent ones. They're from Salesforce, and when you go into them, you can see what components they've installed. Both of them are unmanaged, so you can modify them to your heart's content. This is the one for concurrent sessions, and this is the one that has the Apex classes. And again, you can either do this with Apex, or you can do it with the flows just by querying the data that you need. And then the package itself is called login flows. And again, this shows you all of the different things that it's doing in it. And I'll show you them in a little while once we're looking at how to connect them. when you're creating your own login flows, you can just do a screen flow the way that you would normally do one. This session is, of course, not about building screen flows, but one of the things I wanted to make sure to point out is Salesforce provides variables that come in as part of your authentication session that you can use as part of your login flow. These variables are case sensitive. There's only a few places that I've seen where Salesforce does this, and this is one of them. If you've ever done a flow before, your record ID is case sensitive, and so are these. So they all start with login flow underscore, and then you see how it's capitalized. I will show you in a little bit what these variables display when you use them, because that's one of the custom login flows that I created. Those are the ones that are available for input, so you can do different things with them. The one that you'll probably lean on the most is the user ID, because once you have the user ID, you can go query for the user and get any additional information on that user record that you need. And also, if you need to provide information after the flow is completed, one of them is finish location. So this is going to be the link that you want to send the user to. If you don't provide one, it just goes to the default homepage. But if for support, you always want to send them to the case page, the console page, you could do that, or whatever page you want to send them to. There's also a forced logout Boolean, where if you set this to true, it will immediately log the user out. And so again, this is if they fail the challenge that you posted for them in the login flow, it's just going to kick them out. And I'll show you this in a little bit in the screen flow. Let's talk about best practices. So when you are testing this as a user, if you use login as, and you're expecting that to trigger the login flow for the user, it will not. And so login as feature does not do it. What's the better practice is to create a test user with a test profile and actually log in with that user so you can see what the experience is of the user. There is no other way to trigger those flows. You want to name your login flows by license and profile affected. And you'll see what I mean a little bit when I show you the page, because if you don't, it gets very confusing what login flow goes with what license. Again, when you're doing authentication flows, don't check render and lightning runtime, because otherwise it can bypass security measures. And obviously, I thought this one was in the documentation, don't assign a login flow to a system admin until it's fully tested, or you might completely lock yourself out of your org. So those are the best practices. Any questions or comments? So I would also wanted to cover, because the topic today is pretty broad, for the identity access management, what they really care about is two things. You want to be able to explain how a login flow can be used, and you want to be able to explain how it can be used for authentication, since that certification in particular isn't going to be quizzing you on how to build flows, screen flows. It just cares that you understand a login flow, runs after authentication. It gives that a user if they don't meet the challenge, because that's the rest of the demo of flows under identity.
Hey, Marlene, real quick. We couldn't hear you for the last minute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. So what's the last thing you guys heard? Was I talking about the certification?
You mentioned that they don't really want us to, they don't really necessarily need us to know how to use flows, but but how it pertains to this particular situation.
Great, and thank you for letting me know.
No problem.
And so they really want you to know that you can use a login flow to enforce your own custom MFA that you.
We lost you again. Still can't hear you. Guessing she had internet issues and is probably restarting or something.
Yep, we're good.
Cool.
I wish we could pause the recording.
Hi, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
All right, I disconnected my headset and I guess my connection.
Oh, we lost you again.
We lost you again.
For certification.
Marlene, we can't see your screen anymore either.
Oh, thank you. Let me go ahead and reshare that. Can you see my screen now?
No,
No, yeah.
Not yet, no.
There we go.
Oh, it's starting. Yep.
Okay, good. And so I think where I stopped is I was going to login flows, right?
Yes. I think you were talking about login flows. Yep.
And I have the chat on one screen. So if for some reason you guys can't hear me anymore, you've been doing great. Just let me know on there and then I will pause. So for login flows, go to your org and go to login flows. I'm going to create a new one because I've already installed all those other ones, right? So I'm going to do it from flow. And I'm going to do accept terms and conditions. This is one of the ones that was installed as part of the package. And you always choose your license first. You cannot, if you had multiple licenses that you're applying this flow to, you would have to do this for each license and each profile combination. It feels a little bit cumbersome, but there is no way around that. So I'll do Salesforce platform. I don't know if I can do spaces. We're going to find out together. And this is where it tells you time and time again, do not check this unless you are okay with bypassing security. So I will not check it, and let's see if it allows spaces. So it does allow spaces, but I already have the login flow associated with this profile. So I have to choose a different one. And this is where you would see the error saying that you could only have one custom login flow per profile. So let's change. Now it should let me do it. And as you can see from here, it's very easy to lose track of which login flow you've assigned to which profile. Even though you can see the profile here, you want to name your login flow with what it's doing, because otherwise you would just not know which one is which one is which, right? So now let me show you what it looks like when a user tries to log in with these flows. I'm going to do a platform.
Marlene, once I enable this one, will I be able to connect from another org to this org when this package is enabled or this login flow is enabled?
So that's a good question. So if you are logging in directly into this org, you'll get the flow. If your other org is using this org as a identity provider, it will also make it make sense. So you'll be able to access them both depending on where you start. And next week, we're going to talk about connecting to, and maybe we can test it then, because right now it's not. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me again?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Well, are you there?
Maybe not.
Yeah, we did for a minute.
I think my
Marlene?
internet is having a problem now.
Can you hear
Hi.
us?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. You're back.
I'm back. I'm sorry. My internet is being very unstable today. So you guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, and we're still recording. And so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, did I get lost again?
Nope, we see your screen.
Mm,
Okay, good. You see my screen.
yes.
So hopefully we can submit and we can.
Yeah, if you can hear us, we lost you again.
And see what happens with the login flow. All right, so this flow is the one where I was testing the different variables that are provided by Salesforce. And I was just seeing what came across. So I just did a very basic screen flow that shows each variable and what I'm getting. This is not a community, so of course that's blank, but I'm logging in from browser. You can see my IP address and the internet is not being stable. And you can see I'm on an iOS standard and so on, right? And here's my user ID. I did a query to see how many sessions I have running and it came back with 3. This username that I'm using right now is called Salesforce Platform, which is why you see the name here. And if I haven't tested this yet because this one does not log me out. I removed everything, so I just want to go to the home page. And it doesn't let me go to the site until I have finished that screen flow. And this is what they're talking about, right? Right now I have partial access into the org and I have to finish the flow before it will let me do anything. So even though this flow doesn't do anything, it's not asking me any questions, I'm not agreeing to anything, I still have to click finish for it to then allow me full access to the site. So that's one login flow. I'm going to close this one and show you a second one, which is going to be more of a real use case. I don't remember the username, so let's go see what I set up as my test user. And so I did a user called login flow. And this is the one that's using one of the out of the box flows, where it's just doing, do you accept the terms and conditions? And again, if I erase this here, it's going to tell me you have to finish the flow before you can continue. And so here's my flow, and I hit next. And this is the one that I want to show you where I did not skip this yet because I wanted to see what order they came in. So you can see the custom login flow was displayed first, and now I'm going to the mobile one. Here I can either say remind me later, register my phone, or I don't want to register it. So that's what I want to show you. What questions do you guys have?
From your lens, is there any instance where you wouldn't want to use the out-of-the-box flows?
If they meet your needs, I think they're great. But if you need to do something special, like that terms and conditions, just a fake company, right? And so if you have special terms for your org, I think
Oh, did we lose you? Or do you think of maybe a possible implementation if you had to have somebody agree to consent, or would that be a good implementation for the custom flow? Or sure.
yeah, but
The
definitely
only
that would work.
I would say the only other time I could think is if you wanted to have them and maybe go through and say, hey, do you it's either agreeing to terms and conditions, or in HIPAA world, maybe consent. But okay, just kind of asking some general questions there. So
Yeah, that's definitely HIPAA terms and conditions that are specific to your company. That makes sense too. Any other questions or comments? Are we ready for the quiz?
Quick question. When the login fails, can you get like through the max password failed attempts or see the reason, or is it like, have you ever had experience with it failing, and what's different about it when you're using a flow?
Definitely you can. It counts as a failed login if you don't complete the flow, and if your org is set to a maximum of 3 or 5 or 10, whatever those number is, it will lock you out. And once you're locked out, you have to use a standard way to get unlocked. So that would go back to your password policies on your.
It adheres to that. You can't do anything custom there.
Yeah, because it's going to go back, it will fall on this. So a failed login flow counts as a failed login, and it will count against your invalid ones. This is the default for a dev org, right? My production org is set down to 3, and we log out forever. An admin has to reset it. So whatever you have set there, it would work there. Like usual, as soon as my mouse behaves. And we can do some friendly competition on the quizzes. So if you guys want to go on there, I know a couple of you guys are new. This is a way for us to share the quiz. Put in whatever name you want. You could be Darth Vader, like the first one, or whatever else you like. And the faster you answer the question, the more points you get.
We lost you again, Marlene.
Hi again. Can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me now?
I can hear
Yes.
you. Yes. I can't imagine your frustration at this moment, but you're handling it very well, Marlene. Thank you.
It's okay. I'm volunteering. You guys are very, very kind and you're patient with me, so I appreciate it.
Hey guys, sorry I'm so late, but I still love you and I wanted to join.
Hi, Anna. Well,
Thank you.
we've been having lots of try to do the quiz. I've been having lots of connection problems. I will try to start presenting it.
Do you want, Marlene, I wonder if I can click on the quiz and then present for you.
You have to log in to the quiz as me.
Oh, okay.
And so I put in the link on the chat. Can you guys access it?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. And so my first question to you guys is, please ignoring the connectivity issues. Please rank today's session, pace of the session, quality and quantity of the content. And this one, you don't get more points for speed. You get the points one start next. Thank you, everybody. I'm gonna, looks like we have 10 folks on. All right. 9 answers, so we're gonna go to the next slide. So remember, once we start the next questions, you get more points for answering fast. So put in your name and pick your avatar. Hi, puppy. Hi, dude. Kitten Ninja. I wonder who that is. Thank you, Sita. And I think Darth Vader might be with us as well. All right, let's start the quiz. I'll read the question and then give you time to answer. How are login flows enabled? Select one answer. Nine answers. Everybody has answered. And so you associate one login flow to one license and profile. And you have to do that multiple times if you want to do them to multiple profiles. Next question. Question 2. We have 10 questions today. What is true when building a login flow using Flow Builder? So this would be with using a screen flow. Select 2 answers. Good. 10 seconds. And so the input and output variables are case sensitive. You want to make sure that you match exactly what is on the help documentation, or it's not going to for a successful flow to send the user to the global variables. They're not auto-created for you either. Next question. Question 3. What are login flows? Hi, everybody. I blipped again. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I'm going to start the quiz again and see what happens. I think it's going to go on to the next question. Oh, it's going to be question 3 again. And it has us all waiting because as we all answer the question already. So I can end it now. Go to the next question. Question 4. After question 5, we get the scores. What options are available for managing flows? Select 2 answers. Thirty seconds left. Fifteen seconds. And you can manage flows by creating with a screen flow or flow builder. And you can use Visualforce and Apex. You cannot use OR components or Lightning Web components. Question 5. What are use cases for logging in flows? you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm not paranoid. So we have 7 answers, 7 folks. So I'm going to end it now. Hopefully you've answered. And so it does not replace authentication. Standard authentication always takes priority over login flows. It cannot be used with forgot password flow. That's the standard flow that will happen as well, but it can be used for all of the other ones. Limit concurrent sessions, display notification messages, implement secure authentication methods, or collect additional information. Jatina won on Sunday too, so you're doing great. All right, we have a couple more questions. If I will be posting the quiz at the end of this, so if you want to take it on your own without any interruptions, you'll be able to do that. The question 6, we have 5 more to go. When you create a login flow that uses Visualforce page, the profile selected automatically gets access to the Visualforce page. True or false? We have 6 answers. I'm going to display the answer now.
We don't see your screen.
Oh, can you guys not see my screen anymore?
Mm-mm.
Thank you. So let's share the screen again. There we go. Can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
No.
We can hear you though.
If I would click the share button, that would the screen now.
Yes.
3 more questions. The org, what feature should a team utilize? Select 2 answers.
Since I missed the first half of the meeting, I think I got all of these wrong.
So to do your own secure MFA, you would want to create a screen flow to implement Apex MFA, and you will
Okay, only one of those wrong answers were mine. We lost you, Marlene. Marlene, can you hear us?
could create a login flow. Next question. In what can you guys hear me?
Now we can. I think you're back.
Okay, and can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, this one you can drag up and down the order that things should happen in. I see 4 answers. And I'll let this one go all the way down because I know putting them in order can be challenging. I see 7 answers, so I'm going to go ahead and send it now. And so first, the user is authenticated successfully. They gain restricted access. Login flows will run. You will complete the flow successfully, and then you obtain full access to the org. And this one is definitely something you want to learn for the certification, because I can see how they would ask the order of these.
Right, and probably multiple questions.
2 more questions. So how should an architect force users to authenticate with MFA only when users are not connected to the internal company network? Select one answer. And you're going to be creating a screen flow. And you're going to be enabling that to check the person's IP address, and then only enable MFA if it matches. One more question and then we're all set. What is true about login flows? Select 4. So 4 of these statements are true. Five answers, 1 minute to go. And so the reason this one is not true is because this is always, and you can have a screen flow or a Visualforce page that asks users for information, but if they don't give it to you, they would still be able to
We lost you.
skip it and get full access. And then, yay. How about now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, that was weird. And so it does not replace standard authentication. Standard authentication always happens first.
Oh, Steve, they are used for experience sites. Look.
Interesting.
And I realized the way this is worded, it's technically, if this had said always log out the user enabled, that's right. So if they don't complete it and they skip it, then it would not log them out. So let's look at the scores. You guys did great. Jatin, you
We lost you, Marlene.
You guys are still
We can't hear you.
here. Hi.